Hello, good morning, everybody. Welp, we took a big L this week. I'm less angry about Trump becoming president than I am sad about the fact that over half the country voted for a sexual abuser. Sure, Harris isn't perfect. Obviously, no politician is, but she doesn't tell 10-year-olds that she can't wait for them to turn 18. We knowingly elected a predator, and that's what frustrates me most. Just goes to show how important your vote actually is. Okay, that's all. It's done. I'm done. And all we can do is our best to make it work, honestly. In more positive news, my parents were here for the weekend and I had a wonderful time with them. We ascended the Space Needle, ferried across Puget Sound, and celebrated the Minnesota Vikings at a Midwestern bar, complete with Viking drums, Viking horns, and every conceivable Midwestern accent. I could not have asked for a better weekend with better weather. Alrighty. Today's story is a mix of old and new, a German serial killer running free, possibly still, dismembering people along the way. But to this day, with as much evidence as we have, the case remains unsolved. This is the Saw Killer of Hanover. My name is Eli, and this is Murder in the Morning. Once again, I forgot to actually list my sources, but I heavily depended on Wikipedia this time. There's honestly not a whole lot of information out there, but I will list any and all down below. Okay. On September 26th of 1975, an employee of the Schiller-Graben hydroelectric power plant in Hanover, Germany, stumbled across a most horrific scene. A torso of a young woman, disemboweled, both of her breasts mutilated. She had been lying in a secluded pool of water for at least 10 to 14 days before she was found. According to Wikipedia, the woman was about 23 to 25 years old and around 155 centimeters, which is roughly 5'1". She had a scar on her abdomen and had given birth to at least one child. The body had been tied together with a decoration cord, which is basically just like a fancy rope twisted with another fancy rope, and police determined she was probably cut with either a saw, circular or band, or a surgical instrument, which was used to sever the torso from the woman's arms and legs. Despite having the fingerprints examined, authorities could not identify the victim nor determine a cause of death. And you'll see this will become a frustrating pattern. For months, investigators pored over missing persons reports and police documents for relevant cases without avail. Then, during the week of February 21st, 1976, our killer struck again. 2 pieces of an upper body and the leg of a woman around 25 years old were found near the Hanover radio house, just across the lake from where the Schiller-Graben power plant is located. Authorities determined she had died 2 to 3 weeks before her discovery, and then 2 weeks later, pieces of her thorax were found in a nearby parking lot, and the second leg of this woman was found in a dumpster of a local all-girls school. Again, police were unable to identify the second victim, nor identify her cause of death. Quote, in the period from May 28th to June 11th of 1977, 6 body parts from a young man were found at a hydroelectric power plant, always on the weekends. The victim was estimated to be 17 to 18 years old, around 170 centimeters or 5'6", and he had an iron cross tattooed on his upper body. Again, his identity unknown. His cause of death unknown. On June 5th, the arm of a 50-year-old man was found, again at this power plant. And then on July 10th, the lower body of a woman was discovered by a person walking along the Islandride Forest. I hope I'm saying that correctly. The victim was at least 40 years old and was around 155 centimeters tall. Again, 5'1". She wore a shoe size of 5.5, had an appendectomy scar, had given birth to at least one child, and suffered from atherosclerosis. The lower body had been severed with a machine saw. End quote. Both bodies remain unidentified, and neither cause of death was ever determined. During this period, our medical examiner was quite busy, as you can imagine, with all these dismembered body parts showing up. And this certain medical examiner, he may have been able to see a bit more of the large picture. It turns out that every victim had endured some extreme violence before ultimately dying. They were tortured and then dismembered. On December 18th of 1977, the upper body of a 50 to 60-year-old woman was discovered on a dirt road just outside Hanover. She was found wrapped in a cotton blanket, had signs of strangulation, and was missing all 4 limbs. During her autopsy, it was confirmed that she had given birth and had an appendectomy. Again, her identity remains a secret. However, finally, a cause of death was established: suffocation. And then the killing stopped, almost as if they never started. The day authorities discovered their first cause of death, the killings stopped. Coincidence? According to Wikipedia, the common pattern from all of these found corpses is that for most of the victims, the cause of death could not be determined, as we've seen. They had only been dead for a short time before discovery and were cut up with some saw or surgical instrument. The whereabouts of the rest of the bodies remain unknown, and the body parts were always disposed of on Saturdays in conspicuous places so that they could easily be found by passerbys. End quote. But that is not the only pattern, and I feel like it's so blaring, which I will get into in just a moment. Chief Detective Gunther went on record saying that they had no crime scene, no time of death, and neither the perpetrator nor the victim's identities. Which, for the most part, is true, but I don't wholeheartedly agree with his statement. To me, you have multiple crime scenes. But I digress. All in all, 13 body parts were anatomically assigned to 6 individuals, none of which have ever been identified. According to the original detectives, the offender did not have profound anatomical knowledge, with the cuts being made at the joints, suggesting it might be the work of a butcher. Subsequent investigations into morgues, undertakers, and missing persons reports would turn up nothing. No body part has ever matched up with a known missing person. Quote, police suspected that the perpetrator was on weekday employment and had to store the bodies cool in the meantime, then transport them on the weekend by car and leave them in these conspicuous places where there was much traffic, end quote. But that's it. That's the only profile investigators ever really came up with. I mean, come on, even for the 1970s, that's pretty simple. They're just stating the facts of the case. They assumed with the abrupt ending in 1977 that their perpetrator either moved away, was jailed, or died. And that is where the online story ends, which is super frustrating. Again, I'm not happy with that. And it's almost as if the police didn't follow the clues, maybe, or even investigate past 1977 just because the killings apparently stopped. In my extremely humble opinion, and unprofessional, I might add, I think that the man or perpetrator who did this was either a doctor/medical student who specialized in appendectomies and or practiced as an OBGYN. This is, besides how they died, is the only common denominator that I see between the victims. And the 3 who don't match this description, their abdomens were never recovered to my knowledge. So they very well have so they very well may have had the same scarring. The first one, that scar on her stomach, appendectomy. And then they had a few without abdomens. And then the last few, appendectomy, pregnant. Either that's an insane coincidence or the perpetrator knew about that fact. To continue, this perpetrator would have practiced in Hanover in some capacity during the 1970s, and then I believe left after 1977 or stopped practicing. Maybe he was in school during those years and then got a job elsewhere, or possibly he lost his license that year and had to stop practicing and no longer had access to people who have had appendectomies. The Medical Center of Hanover is located near the power plant and the Island Ride Forest, two of the areas where many of those body parts were found. And then the police claim this dude didn't have enough knowledge to properly dismember his victims, but I say he had enough knowledge to make it look like an amateur or appear as if a butcher had done it. And if I'm wrong, which I probably am, that eliminates at least one avenue that has not yet been explored. Also, I don't believe he ever stopped. I think he may have just realized that he had to start covering his tracks better, or he moved to an entirely separate part of the world. He was never caught, and that kind of person can't just say, enough's enough. And finally, I added this piece last minute after watching an episode of The Blacklist, this fictional crime show that I'm obsessed with, and it made me think. Authorities were limiting themselves to doctors or butchers, and so was I. But what about all the power saws, equipment, and room, space this murderer would have needed? What about a woodworker? They would have the necessary saws and the necessary space, right? Granted, that discredits my appendectomy theory, but that's okay. I mean, it's another possibility that they didn't investigate, to be frank. They gathered the clues, and then he stopped killing, and then they stopped investigating. Frustrating. But that, my friends, is the unsolved case of the Hanover saw killer. I thoroughly enjoyed putting that together, mainly because I gotta spout a bunch of my own theories, but I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you all so much for listening. If you would like a bit more, I invite you to stick around after the music. Okie dokie. Bye-bye. Alrighty, so I know the internet has had its share of fun with the death of Liam Payne, unfortunately, but I did find this article quite interesting, and this comes from CBS, written by Carrie Breen. Quote, prosecutors in Argentina have charged 3 people in connection with the death of former One Direction singer Liam Payne. Payne, who was 31, died on October 16th when he fell from a balcony on the Casa Sur Palermo Hotel in Buenos Aires. One person, who authorities say spent time with Payne every day while he was there, is charged with abandonment of a person followed by death, a charge that carries a sentence of 5 to 15 years in prison. The other 2 are accused of supplying Payne with drugs, including cocaine, and have been charged with 2 acts each of supplying narcotics. Officials did not say what the sentence for those charges could be. One of the people charged with supplying narcotics is a hotel employee, the prosecutor's office said. The 3 people charged have been notified of the charges and have been prohibited from leaving the country. None of the suspects were identified by name. The release also stated that Payne died from a fall and had not jumped from the balcony. Officials had not previously confirmed which versions of events had happened, but the prosecutor's office said that Payne was likely, quote, not fully conscious or was experiencing a state of noticeable decrease or loss of consciousness at the time of the fall. The investigation included 9 raids on homes in the region, dozens of interviews with hotel staff, Payne's family and friends, and experts in the field of medicine, biochemistry, and psychiatry. Investigators also reviewed more than 800 hours of video footage from the hotel and public roads and also conducted a forensic analysis of Payne's cell phone to review his digital footprint in the period leading up to his death. An autopsy was also conducted, but after that, Payne's body was returned to his father, Jeff, who had been in Argentina since the day after his son's death. Toxicology tests conducted as part of this autopsy showed that Payne, quote, only had traces of drug use in his system. There were traces of alcohol, cocaine, and prescription antidepressants. Medical experts found that Payne only had injuries from his fall. All of this information gathered by investigators was summarized into a 180-page report presented to Judge Laura Bruniard, who oversees criminal cases. She approved the charges against the 3 people, but the investigation will continue, the prosecutor's office said, as investigators continue to try to access Payne's other personal devices, end quote. Whew. All right. So, well, this may support a bias of a certain type of people receiving more help than others when it comes to investigations, but it is refreshing to see these investigators' efficiency and scope when it comes to this case. I mean, 800 hours of video footage, dozens of hotel staff, family members, and 9 raids on homes in the region. That's crazy. As long as the friend who abandoned him and then basically left him to die gets some time, that'll be good for my mental health. Anyways, that is all I have for you wonderful humans today. Thank you all again for taking the time to listen in. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week. Okie dokie. Bye-bye. Love you.